Hello you guys, this is Vertigo, or Ben, here with another video. And in this video I'm going to be showing you, again we're not flying, I'm going to be showing you a freeware tool, or donationware I suppose I should say, tool for P3D version 3.0 and higher. That can make your simulator look absolutely incredible. It can take your simulator to the next level, and no, I'm not exaggerating. It really is a phenomenal tool that has the ability to tweak some of the shaders and other visual and lighting effects, along with many other things. It's incredibly, the amount that it can do is unbelievable. And it can tweak all these things and really improve the visual quality of your sim without affecting performance really whatsoever. I haven't noticed a performance drop at all. The name of this tool is Prepar3D Tweak Assist, otherwise known as PTA. And what I'm going to be doing in this video is showing you how to go about getting this, how to download it, and then once it's been downloaded, how to make use of it. So let us pull up a web page here. And this is the website that the tool is hosted at. This is a domain, I believe, owned by the developer of this product. His name is Yuri. He is a very nice guy. I've exchanged some messages with him. He is from Russia, and he is just a great guy, and he has this website here devoted to this PTA tool. Now, I found out about the tool via the Avsim forums, or Avsim forums, and I will show you a little bit about that in a minute. But let's take a look here at this website. Now again, Yuri is a great guy, and this is completely free. He has a donation link here, which you are welcome to go to if you find this tool is helpful to you, and I'm sure he'd much appreciate it. But the software is free. You don't have to pay for it. So if you look here at his website, it's straightforward. He has release history and screenshots. We won't worry about that for now. There's just kind of one page here, and it's very well put together and straightforward. You can download the latest version here by clicking on this link. Now I'm not going to, because I already have it downloaded. More on that later. But this is how you download it. Now, previously he had individual versions for your version of simulator, so 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. Recently, though, based on a change he made, that's no longer the case. There's one version of the tool, period, and then it automatically detects the version of your simulator. So with that said, you're welcome to look over this yourself. I don't want to get too deep into this, because again, you're welcome to take the time to read this. But he touches on the features here. You can affect the shaders, you can affect shadow intensity, lighting intensity, you can affect various cloud lighting, cloud saturation, cloud brightness. You can get a popcorn fix, you can get rayleigh scattering effect. You can tweak the water, you can tweak the FXAA, you can tweak HDR. There is so much you can do with this, it is unbelievable. So he has system requirements here. This is pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy there. And then how to install, I will touch on this, but it's pretty straightforward. You download the tool, and then you unzip it to a particular file or folder location, and that's all you have to do. It then runs out of there. You can't run it from the zip itself. You must unzip it to an external folder and then run it from there each time. Some more here that we can go over, I guess I should mention, and I'll touch on this later. Again, you can look over this yourself. You need to have, in order to use this, you need to have the default shaders installed. Now, if you've made any shader tweaks in the past, ideally you will have backed up your shader folders and can restore them to their default state. But should you have not done that, there is one kind of last resort thing you can do that's going to leave your sim largely unaffected, but it will restore your default shaders. And let me show you very quickly how to do that. If you go into Control Panel and Add and Remove Programs, you will see something like this, and you will see all your various software that you have installed. You want to find Prepar3D Content and Prepar3D Academic Client. So the client and the content, nothing else, not the scenery, content and client, and you can uninstall those, and then you will reinstall just those aspects, and these can be downloaded from Lockheed's website, where they have these files available, and you will then reinstall them, and just the client and content, and that will restore your default shaders, should you not happen to have a backup. Hopefully you do. So with that said, just something that we can touch on here, uninstalling. He does have a guide here to uninstall PTA should you not want to use it. You start using it, you find it's not for you, you no longer want to use it. He has a step-by-step, 4-step guide here of how to uninstall it, and we can go over that more within the tool itself. But it is pretty straightforward. It's very user-friendly, and we'll see that as we get into the tool itself. So, let us first get into a little bit of the Avsim and or Avsim forums, and then we'll get towards the tool. So this is Yuri's Avsim account. If anybody uses Avsim and wants to go here and thank him, by all means go ahead. I know he'd really appreciate it. He's a good guy. He'd love to hear from you. And then here, and I will include links for each of these 3 tabs that you see here. This is a P3D Tweak Assist in Realism Shader Pack. Now, Realism Shader Pack, that's a standalone software. We're just talking about P3D Tweak Assist, Prepared Tweak Assist. But this is a subforum with all these various software and links to forums, or sorry, to threads rather. You can see there's a Prepared Tweak Assist PTA screenshots and presets where people post screenshots of their settings and then include their .ini files. So you can use their settings and see how it looks, and it's just a big open discussion. You can see the thread for the tool itself, where he kind of released it, is here. I may include a link for that as well. So lots of great stuff here. Now, let us get rid of this and talk about how to use the tool. So, if you come into the downloads, or wherever your downloads go to, you will find pta.zip, and if you open this, you will see pta.exe and nothing else. Extract this to a folder and leave it as so. I have mine on my desktop. You can put yours wherever you wish, but you do need to extract this, unzip it to a folder, and then you need to run the tool from that folder each time that you want to use it. So I've already done that. I'm not going to do that, but that would be what you would need to do upon downloading this. Now, here is where I have this extracted to. Find wherever yours is extracted to. In this case, mine is here. Open it up, and you'll only see pta.exe, but once you've run PTA, it will create these folders. It'll create a backup of your config and your shaders, so you will have a backup of your shaders. That is fantastic. And then these .inis are settings that you can import into PTA. So, if we open the tool itself, here it is. Here is what we're looking at. This is where the magic happens. So, let me quickly touch on uninstalling if you want to uninstall, and then we'll get into all the good stuff. If you come into Actions here, and you can clear the shader cache, you can go ahead and disable all the core shader tweaks. You can set the initial tweak parameters, you can restore the original P3D shaders, you can restore the initial config files, and you can uninstall custom shaders from the sim. Now, you don't need to do all of these things to uninstall. Again, Yuri has that link there, or sorry, that step-by-step guide on how to uninstall should you want to do that, and that can all be achieved from within the tool. You don't need to manually delete folders, you don't need to dig around and do this on your own. Everything can be achieved from within the tool here in terms of uninstalling. So take a look at the website, go scroll down to the bottom where he has an uninstall guide, look in the tool, and it can be achieved, the uninstall and restoring of all the default shaders within this tool. It's very straightforward. I won't get into that though. I don't think you'll want to uninstall it, but if you want to, you can do that at that time. So a couple things here on the menu. Preset, you can create a new preset, you can open one, and you can always save any that you have once you like it. So that is very convenient. And then you can, to apply the preset, to apply these settings, you have to go to apply. You can apply the preset, you can apply core shader tweaks, we'll get into that in a minute. You can apply custom shaders, etc., etc. So, first things first, cloud. So you can reduce cloud brightness at dusk and dawn. Now each of these, you see a little question mark. This is clickable, and this will pop up and it'll offer a side-by-side screenshot in most cases, showing the differences with a fantastic explanation at the bottom. So this says, with some sky color texture sets, including default P3D set, the clouds may be too bright at dawn or dusk. Use this tweak to compensate brightness. Now, you can see a few things are misspelled. Again, Yuri is from Russia, so considering that, this is actually really impressive. Play nice with him. He's a really good guy. Overlook those few mistakes. So it explains exactly what the tweak does, and you can go through each of these and read what it does and say, is that something I want, and what exactly is it doing, what's going to be the visual effect, and then you can mess with it. Now, these are my settings. Again, this is totally personal preference, and I should say there's going to be a lot that affects this. If you're using HDR, you're probably going to have vastly different settings than somebody who's not using HDR, depending on the type of monitor you excuse me, the type of monitor you have and how that monitor is calibrated color-wise. You might have very different settings than somebody else. This is going to be incredibly variable. It's going to be incredibly personal. What looks nice to me may not look nice to you, and that's the beauty of this. You can get your sim tuned in just to how you want it looking. There is no end-all be-all. You can tweak and tweak and tweak as much as you wish. So just we'll quickly jump over and I'll explain why I have the things that I do, and then I will explain some more of these features, and then of course I will include links to my settings in the in the description of this video. So I do have reduced cloud brightness at dusk and dawn checked because the clouds are often too bright. You can increase here the size of the clouds, cloud size coefficient. This increases the size of the clouds horizontally or vertically. Now this will kill your graphics card, especially if you aren't running an incredibly high-end card and if you're using anti-aliasing, shadowing, reflections, etc. So I haven't touched this, but you're welcome to mess with that as you see fit. No popcorn modificator. Now if you look here, you often see popcorn clouds there on the left. This obviously doesn't fully remove it, but it helps to smooth them out and get rid of those like full popcorn clouds, make them look a little more realistic. This is a fantastic tweak. And then you can adjust, you know, their opacity at a far distance, how much they fade, how visible they are. Blend distance adjustments. I do not use this. I'm not entirely sure what this does. You're welcome to experiment with it. Reduce top layer sears brightness at dawn and dusk. It very much as it says, this reduces the brightness of your top layer sears clouds at dawn and dusk, makes them a little darker. Cloud shadows extended size. This is another really great tweak. It's going to make your cloud shadows a bit larger on the ground and a bit more noticeable. Alternate lighting for cloud groups. This is not compatible with the no popcorn modificator, so obviously I'm not using it. Cloud lighting tuning. Now this is going to be very personal. This is going to adjust how bright your clouds are, how much light they receive and give off, and their saturation. So if you pop in here, you can see a difference from these two screenshots. Play with this as you see fit. I have mine at 0.65 and 0.3. Clouds fog tuning. This is going to affect kind of how they blend in the distance as well, as you can see on the left. That's kind of a very straightforward, clear-looking image, where on the right it kind of blends in the horizon, maybe looks a little more natural. Play with this as you see fit. And then cloud shade adjustments. Again, this is going to affect how much the lighting affects the shades of the clouds on the left. You can see they're a bit more washed out. They don't take as much light. They don't reflect as much light. On the right, rather, they do absorb more light. It's more affected by the lighting. Now something else to say, and I'll just chime in here when thoughts come to mind, is that there's going to be more than what I've already mentioned that's going to affect how your sim appears, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but the sky textures that you use, the sun textures that you use, these are going to have a massive effect on things within the sim, and so my settings are not necessarily going to work for you. It's very, P3D is kind of a finicky platform, and so all these textures that you use are going to have an effect on the visual quality of the sim, how the sim looks. So lighting here, this is great. So adjust terrain ambient sunlight. Again, these are all explained, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this affects how deep the shadows are on the terrain. The lower the number, the darker the shadow, the higher the number, the lighter the shadow. Adjust autogen ambient sunlight. Right, so this is going to adjust the intensity of the shadows on your autogen trees, buildings, etc., not the terrain itself. Same as the last tweak I discussed. It's just affecting what these, where the shadows appear essentially, and their intensity on these objects. So instead of the terrain, it's going to be your autogen. Again, lower numbers are going to be darker shadows. Higher numbers are going to be lighter shadows. Adjust terrain diffuse sunlight. This is going to affect how bright your brights are. Now when those brights hit your terrain, how bright is the sunlight? And what you're doing is essentially, as you turn the number or crank the number up, it's going to get brighter. You're using these to try and get that contrast, so you can see a difference between the light on the terrain and the shadow on the terrain, that there's that contrast and that it looks visually appealing. Now what looks visually appealing to me may not look visually appealing to you, but these are what these tweaks are doing, and this is why you would use them. Aircraft brightness tuning, again, it's all explained, but this is going to affect your brightness in the VC, in the virtual cockpit, as well as outside of the virtual cockpit. It's going to affect how much light is received in and out of the aircraft. And then again, adjust terrain ambient moonlight and adjust terrain diffuse moonlight. This is going to affect the brightness and the amount of light that the moon is able to, or that the terrain rather, receives and reflects from the moon. So tweak this to get your night lighting looking how you want it. Terrain. So a lot going on here. There's two sides. There's terrain haze. Now this is otherwise known as the Rayleigh scattering effect, which is very well done in X-plane, not so much in P3D. Here is your solution. This introduces a Rayleigh scattering effect into P3D. So what that is it's kind of that haze effect when you're up at higher altitudes, where your visibility out is decreased. And I don't pretend to understand the scientific phenomenon behind the Rayleigh scattering effect, but you'll definitely know it when you see it. There's two versions here. There's an alternate version and the standard version. I personally use the alternate version, but you're welcome to experiment with these. If we pop these open, you can see on the left, very clear on the horizon. On the right, there's a bit of that haze, and ditto for this side, same screenshot. You can affect, on the alternate version, you can affect the distance and the power. On the terrain haze, or on the original version rather, you can only affect the power. Now, this is going to be largely dependent on your sky textures and your sun textures. This will have an effect, but only to an extent. Your sun and sky textures are going to impact this as well. And of course here you can check this to adjust the effect based on the season. You can affect the color tone. I have a little bit of green taken out, but this is, again, this is going to be personal preference and vary from system to system. Adjust urban areas luminosity at night. This is going to crank up your night lighting, so this is going to make it more luminous. This is going to make it brighter. If you find that your night lighting is too dull or washed out, turn this setting up and it's going to make it intense. And again, this is going to depend on the night lighting that you're using. If you're using Orbex, if you're using UTX, if you're using some other third-party night lighting software, this is going to vary greatly, so find what works for you. And then adjust saturation of urban areas at night. Again, this is going to affect the saturation of the lighting. So often you can see on the left there, things get a little too red. If you turn this up, it's going to make it a little more orange. Get this how you like it. Mine's at 2.0, or 2.5 and 2.0 respectively, but these are what the tweaks are doing. You can adjust the water as well. So you can get an FSX-like sun reflection on the water, which is more of a straight line reflection, whereas the P3D is kind of a broader reflection. You can do that if you're so inclined. Adjust the granularity of the water surface. Now this is going to affect the sharpness. You turn it down, it's going to be softer. You turn it up, it's going to be sharper. Pretty straightforward. The default value, he often lists the default value in P3D, so you know kind of from where you are starting. Adjust the water reflection coefficient. This is going to reflect how much, or this is going to affect rather, how much the environment has an impact on the water. So if you see on the left there, the water looks more or less uniform and pretty bland across the board, where on the right there you can see how much the sky is reflecting off the water. The texture of the sky is having a really big impact on how that water appears. So this is going to affect how much the environmental colors, the skies, the cloud, etc. Impact the visual of the water. Just water refraction coefficient, this is limpidity. This is going to affect how much under the water you can see, basically. How much do the colors kind of there, as he explains it much better than I do, the bottom of the ocean, how are they taken into account? And so if you want kind of a harder, more across the board solid color, you'd turn that down, and if you turn it up, you're going to have more variation in color. And then you can tune the speed of the waves. I've turned them down a bit, but you're welcome to put that where you want them. HDR tweaks. So obviously HDR, this is only relevant if you are using HDR, but you can adjust the color tint of the scene. You can adjust the contrast, so turn this up to get more contrast if you feel your sim looks too washed out. Alternate tone map adjustment. This just adds a bit of contrast and vibrance to the colors. He explains it here. Slightly different adjustment of HDR. Tone map operator, more vivid colors and contrast. So this will give a little boost to your contrast and your vibrance. I'm not using it, but you're welcome to try it. And turn off the HDR luminance adaptation effect. This is great. So it's explained here, but essentially if you notice sometimes when you change views in HDR, one view will look different at one time than another because it's going to take the the luminance of the previous scene and it's going to adjust it, your new scene, based on that previous scene. By turning this off, each scene is going to have its own unique luminance. It's not going to adapt, and so you're going to get more natural appearing lighting in different circumstances. In my opinion, again, this is all personal preference. I've said that ad nauseum. I've said that so much, but it is very true, and I can't reiterate that enough. As we all know, FXAA in P3D is not very good. There is a tool in here to tweak it a bit if you want to mess around with this, and by all means read about what each of these do. I do have these settings, although I'm not using FXAA in the simulator, so it's irrelevant. In order for this to work, you have to have FXAA enabled in the sim. So if you're an FXAA user, which I assume most of you are not, then don't worry about this. But if you do and you want to improve the quality of FXAA in the sim, by all means go ahead and mess with this. You can manually affect the CFG. I am not doing that. I don't see a need to. If you're welcome to, you can read about this, but I don't see a need to, so I'm not going to cover much on that. Custom shaders. Now this is interesting. Each of these have an explanation. You can adjust sepia of the scene, or a sepia shader rather. Yeah, curve shader, which affects contrast. And gamma gain, etc., etc. There is a lot that you can do here. These you need to be careful with because these can have pretty major impacts on the visual quality of your sim, in often a bad way if you don't know what you're doing. These are pretty heavy-duty things. Now, some people do choose to use them. The only one that I use is vibrance, and I use a vibrance setting of 0.25, and this just makes the colors a little bit richer. I often find, especially with HDR enabled, the colors just looked a little washed out, so this gives it that slightly brighter, more saturated, vibrant appearance. But you can play around with these as you see fit. It's very easy to change them, apply them, and then reset them if you're so inclined. And again, all of these have explanations, and it's really fantastic. I could sit here and explain it, but there would be no point because it would be redundant. You can do this yourself. One thing that I should mention though is if you're going to apply these custom shaders, you need to make sure that they are applied to your camera. So I have them applied for these various cameras. You can apply them to the ones that you want them applied to. That's a matter of whatever you want. But in order for this custom shader tweak to work in the simulator, you need to have them applied to the cameras. And then you can just apply custom shaders if you don't want to apply the core tweaks, or you can apply everything. So various settings here. You can change the scan interface. These are all your backup directories. So it'll find your P3D directory. It'll find your version of P3D. It'll find your shader cache, where your previous shaders are backed up to, your main config, and your camera config. And these aren't touchable. This should discover them automatically. And if it has an issue doing so, it will tell you down here in this bottom panel in the log. As you can see, everything's fine here. Shaders integrity okay. It's found all these various files that it needs to find. If it cannot, it will tell you down here. Now you shouldn't have any problems, but if you do, you're welcome to comment on the video. You're welcome to reach out to Yuri. He'd be happy to explain this to you, and I would do my best as well. But the log will tell you if there are any issues or if there are not any issues. And then you can just make comments on your presets. This is all from but what I did is I took my preset, I used somebody else's, and then I tweaked it pretty significantly, so these comments are not my own. I should probably get rid of these, because HDR and P3D is used, actually, so these are out of date, these are not correct, ignore this. I will have this updated when I upload the video, but you can put in comments for your preset, should you be interested in sharing it and explaining what you're doing. Now this preset was from, I believe it was Adam is his name. He's from New Zealand, I believe, and he's on the Avsim forums. I took his preset and then I ended up totally changing it, so it's fundamentally different at this point, but I did originally get it from him. So once you've made all these tweaks and settings that you want, you can play around with these, and all you have to do is, tweak and then come into apply and apply the preset, and it will change your settings based on the tweaks you've made. If you wanted to, you can just apply things individually. So you can just apply your custom shaders, you can just apply your config changes, you can just apply your core shader tweaks. I don't see any reason not to just apply everything, and that is what apply preset does. It's going to, across the board, apply every tweak that you have made. However, if you wanted to apply something individually, so to speak, you're welcome to do that. So this kind of wraps it up, guys. Again, I could get into more detail about what each of these do, but given Yuri's incredibly in-depth explanation for each of these, there's no need for me to do that. This is more about getting this some amount of exposure and getting people who may not be aware of this to see this and be aware and be able to incorporate this into their sim, because it is truly a game changer. It's just incredible difference, and so much flexibility. It makes your sim, it's just night and day how much better it looks. So links will be included in the description to the download for this particular tool, as well as my personal settings. As always, if you have any questions whatsoever, you are more than welcome to ask. Something that just came to mind that I should answer. When you make these changes to the shaders, when you first boot into the sim, you're going to have a black screen for longer than usual. It might last 30 seconds or a minute. That is just as P3D rebuilds the shaders, and this may take some time. You may notice textures take a while to render. This is completely normal. It should only happen one time, and that is after you initially implement the tweaks, and then each time thereafter it should load as it normally does. But don't be concerned if it takes a while to load your textures and shaders after initially applying these tweaks. But again, feedback, critique, anything is totally welcome. I'm sure Yuri would love to hear it. He's really receptive to feedback and has done a great job of keeping this updated and making this tool everything it can be. Is just incredible, and we're so lucky to have it. Again, if you find it's useful, send him a donation. It's what he's done is just above and beyond, and the fact that he's not asking for money just to use this tool is unbelievable, and huge kudos to him for that. But again, if anything comes to mind that I've missed, I will annotate the video. I will include something in the description. I will edit it as I need to, but I think this pretty much covers it. So questions, totally please ask. Very likely that I missed something. That wouldn't be unusual for me. And I hope that this is useful. I hope you enjoy the tool, and happy simming, everyone. So long. Hey you guys, so just a very quick addendum to this video. As I said towards the end, I'm sure I would forget something, and sure enough, I was just about to edit this video and save it, and I realized that I did forget a thing, two things actually, and there's probably more, but I may as well correct these two that I omitted while they came to mind, and correct the rest down the road through annotations and whatnot. Those two things are, I mentioned when I was showing the tool, I said everything that you need to do to uninstall PTA can be done via the tool, and that is 99% correct. However, that is not 100% correct. The only thing you need to do, if you follow the instructions, it can be done from that actions tool. That's 3 of the 4 steps. The first 3 can be done from, if you open PTA, actions, and you can clear the cache, clear the log, these not so much. But disable all the core shader tweaks, restore the original files, restore the initial config files, uninstall the custom shaders. This can be explained, so if you come to the tool here, you want to use in the actions menu, restore the original P3D shaders, restore the initial config files in the action menu, uninstall custom shaders from the sim in the action menus, and then the last part that I failed to mention is delete the main directory of PTA. So you basically need to completely clear out wherever PTA is unzipped to, find the main directory where you have it, where you have sent it off to, exported it to, unzipped it to, what have you, and completely delete it. And that is that 4th and final step. So yes, 99% of the work can be done via the tool, but you do need to clear this out. That is thing 1. Thing 2 is how to get settings, how to use other settings and make those available to you. So you need to find the .ini file corresponding to a PTA setting that you would like to use. In this case, you can see I have my own settings here, and then I have default, and this is the default settings. If somebody was to provide you with settings, you would simply download that file, and then you would then move it into your PTA main directory. So you'd take it from your downloads and drag and drop, copy and paste, whatever, into this PTA main directory wherever you have this unzipped to. That is the only other thing. And then you would come into the tool itself, if I pull this up, and you'd go into preset, and you'd go to open, and then you can select from the PTA main directory your settings here. That is the second thing, and the only other thing. If anything else comes to mind, I will put in another addendum, or I will correct the video with annotations description, or within the description, make edits, etc. But I think that's pretty much it. So that's officially all. I hope you found this video useful. Enjoy the tool. So long, everyone.